Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition. Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Hillary Clinton takes a step closer. Bernie Sanders, first step to concession last night. He did not mention a path to victory in his press release. I guess that's the key, isn't it? The mainstream media is all over that. He ain't getting out, and he's going to the convention. That's the story. All right, America got its first version, or should we say the extended version of Make America Great Again from the Donald here in Washington, D.C. It was really the most in-depth foreign policy speech that Trump has given to date. I just want to point out that in this speech, he talked about how he wants better relations with Putin and Russia. Well, some of you may or may not know I work at Russian television here, RT America in Washington, D.C. For the third straight time, RT has been denied press credentials to a Trump event. So, I'm a journalist, a working dude in America, man. You know how it is. I do the news at 8 o'clock on RT America. We cover all kinds of stuff. It's not propaganda, it's the news. We cover Bernie Sanders all the time. We even throw Hillary Clinton in every now and then. How come Trump doesn't want RT America at any of his events? Anyway, it was a speech on foreign policy. And you know what? It was the same old stuff. He hit all the notes. The world doesn't respect us anymore under a Trump administration. That's exactly what he's going to do. He ripped on NATO, says that we're paying the bills. Nobody's being fair about it. Oh, we're going to eliminate ISIS. It's going to happen quickly. Now, I'm not going to tell you when or how, but it's going to happen quickly. So I guess we're going to nuke ISIS. I don't know. And Obama, by the way, has totally destroyed the military. China is killing our job market, and he will fix these lousy trade deals. Though that's what Trump said today. So we better play a few cuts from Trump. This is what Trump had to say today when it came to the fact that America is going to be first under Trump.
The direction I will outline today will also return us to a timeless principle. My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. Has to be first. Has to be. That will be the foundation of every single decision that I will make. Unfortunately, after the Cold War, our foreign policy veered badly off course. We failed to develop a new vision for a new time. In fact, as time went on, our foreign policy began to make less and less sense.
Okay, hold it right there. Let's see. Cold War. Okay, so he's ripping on Reagan. He's ripping on Bush. He's ripping on Clinton. He's ripping on Bush 43. He's ripping on Obama. I mean, we haven't done anything right in foreign policy whatsoever since the Cold War. All right. And oh, by the way, we're going to take care of ISIS ASAP. Listen to this.
And then there's ISIS. I have a simple message for them. Their days are numbered. I won't tell them where, and I won't tell them how. We must...
Oh, we got a little golf clap going on there.
We must, as a nation, be more unpredictable. We are totally predictable. We tell everything. We're sending troops, we tell them. We're sending something else, we have a news conference. We have to be unpredictable. And we have to be unpredictable starting now.
That's got to make our allies feel really good that they really have no clue what the hell we're going to do. We're going to be unpredictable. I'm sure the Brits will love that. He goes on to say that Obama is doing this deal with the Iranians. It isn't going to work, and they're probably going to nuke us.
President Obama has not been a friend to Israel. He's treated Iran with tender love and care and made it a great power. Iran has indeed become a great, great power in just a very short period of time because of what we've done. All of the expense and all at the expense of Israel, our allies in the region, and very importantly, the United States itself.
I don't know if you caught the news or not, but Vladimir Putin had a very interesting meeting, very cordial, very productive meeting is how it's being characterized, with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. So that's progress as I see it. All right, so Trump wins big last night. He runs the table in all 5 states. There clearly is a mathematical way for him to get 1237 before the convention, and he'll probably do it, which will take all the drama out of the psychos at the GOP convention in Cleveland. A couple of interesting things. Clearly, voters last night saw this move by Cruz and by Kasich to coordinate as to what territories they were going to work, who was going to concede Indiana, who was going to work Oregon and New Mexico. That went off like a lead balloon. That was viewed as inside Washington bullshit. And all it did was help Trump. Trump was over 60% in some of those states. I mean, it was a phenomenal night. He's clearly on his way to the nomination, and it's going to give him a ton of momentum going into Indiana. Now, Cruz finally, throughout months and months and months and months and months of running, he finally found a way to grab a few headlines in the news cycle where he might be a lead story in some places in America. He is going to announce today that Carly Fiorina will be his running mate. He didn't pick up a delegate last night in the northeastern portion of the United States. Didn't pick up one delegate, but he's got a VP pick for everybody. And oh, by the way, it's going to be a woman. It's Carly Fiorina, ex-CEO of whatever the hell company she destroyed, according to Donald Trump. See, I'm buying the Trump rhetoric for just a minute. Hey, I use the Republicans as comedy until they start cutting stuff. So that's it. Trump's going to get it. I don't see anything stopping him. I don't think it's going to be a very dramatic convention. I think that John Kasich has professionally, politically embarrassed himself. He was eaten like a pig. It wasn't good video. I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. And he didn't do very well last night. Even in Pennsylvania, right next to Ohio, he didn't do very well. So it's Trump's game right now. And that's why we paid a lot of attention to his foreign policy speech today here in Washington, D.C., because this is going to be the guy that either Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders is going to run against. And I'm sure you're all saying it's going to be Hillary, Ed. Well, for more on all of that, when we come back, we're going to be joined by John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team produce this production. Ed Schultz, Susan Commentary. We're right back. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegoted.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
Ed Schultz, Susan Commentary, Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team make it all happen for us. Thanks for the download. Thanks for the watch and the listen on WeGotEd.com, RawStory.com, and RingOfFireRadio.com. All right, so the mainstream media is all lathered up because Bernie Sanders put out a release last night congratulating Hillary Clinton, saying he's looking forward to the other 14 states that are going to vote. And he didn't mention anything about a path to victory. He talked about how this is an issues campaign. So they're all interpreting this as some big turn. And the Clinton surrogates are out saying, well, the tone has got to change. You got to back off on the attacks. Bernie Sanders has never attacked Hillary Clinton. He's asked her for speeches to Wall Street. They've interpreted that as an attack. He's defended himself on the automobile loan program. That, of course, was interpreted as an attack. He's documented her money coming from Wall Street. They, of course, interpret that as an attack. The issues are: get big money out of politics, get rid of Citizens United, make college affordable, change the tax structure in this country, $15 minimum wage. And you know what's interesting? Last night in her concession speech, that's exactly what Hillary Clinton talked about. It's almost as if Jeff Weaver had handed her the speech and said, here, try some of this. It's really worked for us. John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation. Good to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Ed Schultz.
The aftermath. The tide's coming in. You're on a surfboard. How far is this wake going to go?
Well, I'm not sure I know enough about surfing to tell you for sure, Ed, but what I can tell you is this. Bernie Sanders is going to keep running for president. He's going to maintain this campaign. There's no doubt of that. He said as much in his statement on Tuesday night, but he's also said as much to anybody who is actually willing to listen. The weird thing about how an awfully lot of folks seem to deal with Sanders is that they recognize he's run a very, very different kind of campaign, one that's broken the mold in campaign finance, on the issues that are raised, on an acknowledgement of the fact that he's a democratic socialist, on this remarkable outreach to young people. They see all that, and then they somehow think that he's going to be a typical traditional politician, you know, when it comes to this horse race stuff.
Sure.
He isn't.
Yep. And
so what he said in his statement should be read plainly for what it was.
All the talking heads, all the anchors on all three of the networks are trying to interpret this as some kind of a turn by the Sanders campaign, that they're recognizing the inevitability. Your interpretation of that?
Well, look, I think that they are not unrealistic. They know it's an incredibly uphill race, and they know that for quite a while they have relied on a momentum map. You know, the reality of winning a lot of caucuses and key primaries like Wisconsin, that was very, very beneficial to Sanders. Even if he had a little bit of a deficit in the delegates, he had this popular appeal. Now they've gone through a period where the delegate numbers are not good for him, and the momentum map has not been good for him. They have lost states. That is a reality. But you're about to go into a period where it is very possible, in fact, I think a lot of analysts would say quite possible, people like Jeff Merkley, that Sanders is going to again have a number of wins in places like West Virginia and Oregon and maybe even California.
And Indiana.
And Indiana, yes, of course. And so once again, you're going to see people going, wow, you know, this guy has some popular appeal.
Sure.
That's something to be paid attention to. Now, where that all sorts out is that both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are going to have to keep campaigning through the month of May and into June.
Yeah.
At a certain point in June, after California, New Jersey, Montana, New Mexico, and ultimately the District of Columbia, after all these places vote, then you're going to have, some real numbers. What Sanders is saying, what he said in his statement last night, is that he's going to try and get the most delegates possible. He's going to try and see where he ends up at the end of this actual voting process, where everyone's had a chance to vote. At that point, there is no question that he's going to the convention. Now, it's reasonable, very reasonable for analysts to say, oh, yeah, but he's not going to go as somebody who's going to be nominated for president. That may well be the case. I mean, the numbers do point that way in a lot of these delegate counts. But here's the important part. He is reasserting something he said from the start of the campaign. that this is about more than a horse race.
Yeah, it's about issues. Yeah, it's
issues.
About moving the country, changing the party, solidifying the progressive movement, and now he can go make a statement saying, well, what are you going to do, disregard what millions of people are saying, and it's going to force Hillary Clinton to run a more of a left-leaning campaign, which I think is great, and she should.
It might actually help her a great deal.
I think it will help her a great deal. Yeah. All right, quickly, John, your thoughts on what Donald Trump had to say today? Kind of cleared the beach. Obama's destroyed the military. He went through his usual list, but on a teleprompter, whatever that means.
Well, first off, it's really good to be able to pronounce the names of countries you're talking about.
Yeah.
And he had some real trouble there. So right off the bat, I think, he probably provoked more laughter than excitement about his statement. But the important thing to remember is that this is a speech that's supposed to pivot Trump out of the fringe and kind of bring him in more toward the mainstream politically. I heard nothing there that really did that. He continues to be stuck in a sort of very simplistic assessment of what Republican primary voters want to hear.
Yeah,
that speech isn't going to move him an inch.
Well, I kind of got a feeling that John Bolton wrote it. Mike Malou is going to be with us tonight on the News with Ed, former Pentagon official. And he's going to give us some insight on exactly who counseled Trump and who wrote this speech today. But Trump is throwing the red meat out. He's trying to get the military vote, military support. Here it is.
Our active duty armed forces have shrunk from 2 million in 1991 to about 1.3 million today. The Navy has shrunk from over 500 ships to 272 ships during this same period of time. The Air Force is about 1/3 smaller than 1991. Pilots flying B-52s in combat missions today, these planes are older than virtually everybody in this room. And what are we doing about this? President Obama has proposed a 2017 defense budget that in real dollars cuts nearly 25% from what we were spending in 2011. Our military is depleted, and we're asking our generals and military leaders to worry about global warming.
All right, now let's break this down. Somebody's got to pay for this stuff. Kent Conrad, former Senate Budget Committee chair, longtime North Dakota senator, told me there's just no way any of these numbers that Trump has adds up. So something's got to give. You can't protect Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. You can't let the rich go scot-free on the tax system they've got right now. You can't ship jobs overseas and destroy the tax base and to do everything Trump was just talking about. Something's got to give.
Well, I mean, look, all you have to do to understand this is, first and foremost, we have the best military in the world. We outpace all the other countries in the world as regards our military spending. And President Obama has not abandoned that goal or that focus. So it's not like we're in the crisis that Trump describes. That's the first thing to understand. But the second thing to understand is that this, kind of blow all the doors off spending that Trump proposes is in many ways a revisiting of a vision that Ronald Reagan brought to us in the 1980s. And, a lot of our conservative friends now, just adore Ronald Reagan. They see him as perfect in every way. But it's important to understand that when Ronald Reagan finished his presidency, he left this country with such overwhelming deficits, such huge financial problems, that it took the next two presidents, George Herbert Walker Bush and Bill Clinton, to jumping through a lot of hoops, basically raising a lot of taxes, struggling economically to try and balance budgets, to begin to stabilize the books, begin to get the books right. And so the idea of having a president come along at this point and say, well, we're just going to go and spend everything wildly. And believe me, I'm no fiscal conservative here. I'm not arguing for, caution on every budget. But what I'm telling you is this is a recipe. Yeah. This is a recipe for creating an incredible economic mess at a point when, to his credit, President Obama has actually done a lot more than he gets credit for stabilizing some of this stuff, for actually, getting things moving in the right direction. And I really believe, and I want to say this very firmly, I think an awfully lot of Republicans, forget about conservative, or forget about liberals, forget about Democrats, I think a lot of Republicans are going to look at this and say, this is scary. Not scary just for the,
well, they better get used to it because he's going to. They better get used to it because he's going to get the nomination. There's just no way that's going to change. So somebody's got to sharpen his pencil on this, or we're going to go further into the depths of debt, and that, of course, is what all the righties are so concerned about. But they want everything, but they don't want to pay for anything. John Nichols, always great to visit, my friend. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation magazine. Tonight on the News with Ed, 8 o'clock Eastern, RT.com. It's on Dish and Direct. 8 o'clock Eastern, we're going to have Roger Johnson. He is the president of the National Farmers Union, talking about this trade deal. Trump spent a lot of time talking about trade today, and I think he's going to wake up a lot of people, and the Democrats better watch out. He's making a real push for the working class folks in this country. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, the iSafe team. Bring it to you right here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. We're back tomorrow.